building partnerships or wants to attend a four-year or two-year college. The reality is that 52% of the people who recently graduated didn't complete, even if they attended, they didn't complete college. How can we make sure that our workplace solutions are meeting these students where they are and ensuring that they have skills that they need to succeed? Apprenticeships, especially for those starting in high school, are a strong pathway for students to create a career. And they're a great way to help businesses form more sustainable workforce pipelines, which benefits employers and workers a lot. It can cost an employer close to $5,000 to fill a job each time they have an opening if the recruits aren't trained. Youth apprenticeships are a readily available pipeline of young, diverse talent, providing a positive return on investment for all manner of employers. In 2021, only 2.7% of youth apprentices were under the age of 18. All the rest were older. This is a missed opportunity. It means that students are forced to wait until after high school to start building the skills they'll need to compete in what is already a challenging job market. But why should they wait? We can bring high school students those opportunities right now. Industry partners and education providers together to launch CareerWise. Since that program's start, CareerWise has seen more than 1,400 apprentices hired by more than 120 partnering employers in Colorado, Colorado, Indiana, Washington, D.C., New York City, and others. These programs serve as an important recruitment tool for employers while also placing youth in quality, work-based training opportunities that lead to career success and economic mobility. The average hourly wage for youth apprenticeship graduates is nearly twice the national average hourly rate for youth of the ages 16 to 24. These are good programs, ones we should be investing in. I'm proud to lead the Youth Apprenticeship Advancement Act with Senator Braun here that's going to do just that. The bill would provide competitive grant funding for youth apprenticeship programs across the country. Even better, it's fully paid for. We believe that lifting up effective youth apprenticeship programs will also help to uplift the apprenticeship system as a whole for a whole new generation of workers. It's a rising tide that does indeed raise all boats. In truth, the truth of the matter is we will need everyone to get this across the finish line, from employers to schools to intermediaries to unions to states, everyone. I think what we're going to do is make youth apprenticeships cool. They already are cool, but we're going to amplify that and shout it from the rooftops if we have to. We hope that we can get moving on workforce development legislation this Congress. I think it's too important to wait. This hearing is an opportunity to hear from those in the field working on youth apprenticeships about how we can best support those efforts. Today we're going to hear from a dynamic witness panel that includes several of those youth apprenticeship partners. And with that, I'm excited to introduce and welcome each of the witnesses that are joining us today. Steve Day is the principal at the Cherry Creek Innovation Campus, based in Centennial, Colorado. Steve brings with him more than 30 years of educational experience, having worked more than 13 years in the classroom and 17 years as a school administrator. And having toured that facility, I can attest to its excellence. Wesley Patch is a process excellence specialist for Vestas Americas in Windsor, Colorado. As a 16-year employee with the company, Mr. Patch has held many roles, and he has also spearheaded designing and implementing the company's youth apprenticeship program, which we appreciate having that European influence. And Denise Tugade previously served as a member of California's Youth Apprenticeship Council in her former capacity as government relations advocate for SEIU United Healthcare Workers. In that role, Denise advised the committee on best practices to advance youth apprenticeship in the healthcare sector. Now I'm going to recognize Ranking Member Braun for his opening statement and to introduce our final witness, Brad Roer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to go right into the introduction just to keep that flow going. Mr. Brad Roer, who is a longtime industry professional recognized in both the public sector and the manufacturing industry for his expertise in workforce development. And I've just got to tell the public that Indiana is the #1 manufacturing state per capita in the country. So it means a lot what you do. He recently joined Ascend Indiana in January of 2024. We're happy to have him representing the Hoosier State here today. Thank you for being here. I ran a business for 37 years prior to coming here and come from one of the lowest unemployment counties and towns in our state of Indiana. Happened to serve on our school board for 10 years. And apprenticeships, career and technical education, was very disappointed that when I looked into our own school system, it was definitely getting a second fiddle attention and approach. In a place that had so much trouble hiring people, the system was actually not stigmatizing against it, but just wasn't working for it to give the full spectrum back then to parents and kids of what might be available. Expanding opportunities and access to apprenticeships and other skills and training programs are important because in Indiana, back when I was in the legislature for 3 years, we gave it a lot of different disaggregated approaches, spending almost with apprenticeships and career and technical education $1 billion in a state like ours, not hitting the mark. It's interesting how this has now come full circle to where you're getting support from manufacturers, unions, across the board, and you can take some hint from what other successful countries are doing as well. Last year, Chairman Hickenlooper and I introduced legislation to promote and expand youth apprenticeships. This bill, which specifically defines and targets youth apprenticeships for individuals between 16 and 22 years of age, is an important step to provide eligible employing entities the support they need to give critical career pathways for aspiring young workers. Unlike other initiatives that address apprenticeships, this does not discriminate against industry-recognized apprenticeship programs, so we shouldn't have issues there, which are just as effective in providing opportunities as registered apprenticeships are. The bill also maintains a level playing field by not giving labor unions prioritization over other entities. And importantly, during these dire economic times, the bill is fiscally responsible. That hardly ever happens in this place. Containing a pay-for to support the competitive grant program that it authorizes and sunsets after a 5-year window. We should be doing the rest of government like that. We wouldn't be in the deep hole we're in currently. This legislation is only part of the hearing. We also want to hear from all of you in terms of what is working in and around the youth apprenticeship field and your suggestions for what lawmakers can do to better support the goals. Today, we'll hear about the value that youth apprenticeships have to both young workers seeking opportunities that can lead to rewarding lifelong careers and employees seeking hardworking, talented professionals that can help their businesses grow and prosper. I'd like to make sure that it's an open conversation. We're looking forward to hearing what you guys think. Thank you for being here. I yield back.
Great. Thank you, Senator Braun. Senator Kane, I see you right. I don't know what your schedule is like. I'm not rushing. You're not rushing. All right, then I'll do questions first, and we'll go Senator Braun and then Senator to you. Oh, yes, first. What am I saying? My questioning. We'll have your statements, and then we'll do all the questions. So I apologize for that. Thank you. Mr. Day, why don't you start?
Thank you, Senator. Good afternoon. Chair Hickenlooper, Ranking Member Braun, and members of the subcommittee, my name is Steve Day, and I am the principal of the Cherry Creek Innovation Campus, a part of the Cherry Creek School District, the fourth largest school district in the state of Colorado. It is an honor to be here today to provide support for this critically important legislation. Senator Hickenlooper, as you alluded to, it was a privilege to give you a tour of the Innovation Campus at the start of our school year and to hear firsthand yours and Senator Braun's vision for apprenticeships and what they can mean for our communities and for our students. At the Cherry Creek Innovation Campus, also known as the CCIC, we have the privilege of working with high school students at a critical time and juncture in their formation as young adults. At a time in their lives when the present and the future feels uncertain, we get to be a part of putting the tools, knowledge, and skills in their hands to prepare them for a lifetime of success. The CCIC is a unique high school setting, to say the least. Like many career technical education centers, students get to experience multiple different career pathways on our campus, earning high school credit, college credit, and industry certifications along the way. While the mechanisms of that work are project-based authentic learning, the pinnacle of the work is the moment when students can move from the classroom space and into the workplace through an apprenticeship. That opportunity to formally step into the workplace as both a learner and an employee allows our students to build their identity as a successful machinist, a successful electrician, or a successful classroom teacher, just to name some examples. However, for many students, the artificial barrier of age is significant, excluding them from the opportunities an apprenticeship brings for all of junior year and most of senior year of high school. What we see as the critical nature of this legislation is that it encourages and funds the partnerships where students can participate in an apprenticeship as soon as 16 years of age, a time when they are fully supported by their high school network of teachers and staff. This legislation provides opportunities and the critically needed funding for school districts and employers to work together to build those apprenticeships while high school support is at its strongest, creating a bridge to the workplace and to a career, which can be forged into a lifelong and strong pathway of purpose for our youth. Allow me to share some examples of current apprentices and students to highlight the positive impact this legislation can have on many others. Logan apprentices with Micron, an international company with strong local presence in Denver. Micron creates high-performance production systems, assembly lines of high complexity and precision. Logan has done so well with Micron already that he is a part of their off-site delivery and installation team of these high-precision production lines, both locally and nationally. Actually doing that work in Pennsylvania as I speak. Jaden's story is one of a first-year apprentice in a local union shop, Sturgeon Electric. Jaden used his strong high school foundation to launch his career and is now already reaching back to the high school students as mentor, an event judge, and a recruiter for future apprentices. Ty is an apprentice with the Blind Institute, and in fact is the first student in the nation who is blind to go through their apprenticeship program. As a result of his work, Ty is now also industry certified with Salesforce. This legislation gives us the important leverage we need to provide these kinds of opportunities and many more for all students, starting while they are still in high school, in an effort to set them up for a lifetime of high-wage, high-skill, and high-demand employment. Most significantly, this legislation has the potential to create generational change, lifting students and families from poverty for this generation, the next, and possibly for good. To quote our Director of Apprenticeship Success, Ashlyn Montgomery, school staff support allows for a tremendous amount of social growth inside and outside of work. As students learn to socialize with workers of other generations, we support them in navigating those spaces until they understand how to navigate them on their own. As a part of our work to expand the CCIC campus within the next 2 years, I've had the good fortune of traveling the country visiting campuses just like the CCIC. As a part of that journey, I've been impressed with the students of Arizona, Ohio, Florida, and Washington. Each and every one of them are ready for this kind of work. Each and every one of them bring an impressive amount of dedication, determination, and talent to what they do. These students are ready to get into the workplace, to prove who they are to their community, to their families, and to themselves. Again, on behalf of the Cherry Creek School District and the Cherry Creek Innovation Campus, I am honored to support this legislation and look forward to working with members of this subcommittee to bring these opportunities to more students and future apprentices across our entire great nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Day. Mr. Patch.
Yes, good afternoon, Chair Hickenlooper, Ranking Member Braun, and members of the Subcommittee on Employment and Workplace Safety. Thank you for inviting me to testify and discuss with you about our apprenticeship program. My name is Wesley Patch. I'm currently the Process Excellence Specialist for Vestas America, a renewable wind generator manufacturing company located in Windsor, Colorado. I was fortunate to be on the team designing and implementing our youth apprenticeship program, which is one of the things I'm most proud of. The youth apprenticeship program was realized and began talks in the design in 2017. We saw an opportunity of an untouched pool of candidates and high school students. Vestas started discussions with Greeley Central High School, which is part of the Greeley-Evans School District 6. This was a perfect match for Vestas and Greeley Central to provide students an opportunity to joining the workforce through an apprenticeship program where they can learn the skills needed in advanced manufacturing on the job while earning a good wage. In fact, there are 2 job openings currently available worker in Colorado. This is where the youth apprenticeship program becomes a valuable asset to train a skilled worker. The apprenticeship program registered with the U.S. Department of Labor is designed to support juniors in the summer before their senior year. The apprenticeships are anywhere from 17 to 19 years old. This new apprentice works 40 hours a week during the summer, and this is the most critical time as the best learning is done with repetition and consistency. During their senior year, we will allow up to 20 hours a week. They pick their own schedule based on the course load and their extracurricular activities. Our first apprenticeship cohort class started in June of 2018. We've had 4 cohorts which involved around 50 students in this apprenticeship program over the 4 years. Since then, Vestas has partnered with CareerWise, which acts as an intermediary between the systems of education and industry, developing occupations and competencies, providing training frameworks, training staff, and best practices for working with students and apprentices in workplace preparedness. To further expand the program, including hiring high school seniors in these programs, the apprentices must complete a total of 144 hours classroom training and 2,000 hours of on-the-job training. We anticipate hiring another 40 apprentices this spring semester. Vestas, as part of the renewable energy space, has a bright future in the American market today, thanks to the bipartisan investments made during the recent clean energy transition. The act is supporting our growth and our investments in the communities we operate in now and ensure we will continue growing for a foreseeable future. With this and the competitive job market in Colorado, youth apprenticeship programs become an essential talent strategy to tap into the labor pool that is underutilized today. Our first apprentice to complete all of the requirements for the apprenticeship program was a student named Raquel. She started the program as a junior in high school, worked through her senior year, and then was hired on full-time with Vestas after graduation. Raquel finished her 2,000th working hour in Denmark on a temporary 8-week assignment, assisting another factory in training new employees. Upon her return to Windsor, Raquel took advantage of our tuition reimbursement program and currently finishing her 2nd year of college to gain her engineering degree. Vestas's registered youth apprenticeship program has been a great change to our business. These young apprentices bring fresh ideas, energy, and willingness to learn everything they can. They've helped us start a mentorship program, streamline processes, improve productivity, and even come up with innovative solutions to challenges. It has been incredibly fulfilling to see them grow and develop their skills. Overall, youth apprenticeships has a huge impact on Vestas and the surrounding community. If the Youth Apprenticeship Advancement Act is passed it will allow more businesses to give opportunities to our youth to be paid to learn and gain knowledge for better, stronger, skilled workforce in the future. Youth apprenticeships is an investment in the company's workforce and one that has a guaranteed return if you structure your program well and commit the resources. The cost comes from training, added headcount for mentors and trainers, and overhead of the new program. If you could continue investing your youth apprenticeships and youth apprenticeship intermediaries, make reporting and registration processes simpler for employers and schools, and make high schools more flexible to allow more students to fit apprentices in their school schedules. Vestas chose to start this program as we could see the benefit in hiring a new, diverse, and talented youth of today. It has shown us that the potential of a skilled workforce if you give the youth of today a chance to become successful. Thank you for the opportunity to testify, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Patch. Mr. Roer.
Good afternoon, Chairman Hickenlooper, Senator Ranking Member Braun, and committee members. I'm Brad Roer. I'm the president and CEO of Ascend Indiana, a statewide initiative focused on ensuring Indiana employers have the talent needed to thrive, and every Indiana citizen has the opportunity to pursue a meaningful career. Talent development is personal to me only as a representative of Ascend Indiana, but as a 25-year automotive manufacturing professional who spent a good portion of my career creating talent pathways for one of Indiana's largest manufacturers. Indiana is not unlike any other state in the nation facing a persistent talent shortfall. Hoosier leaders are all too familiar with the data. A concerning statewide labor participation rate hovering at 64%, an alarming 75% of Indiana employers who cannot find enough qualified candidates to fill open positions, an aging workforce population looking for retirement, and a strained talent pipeline that only worsened during the pandemic. Indiana, however, is among a few states in the nation actively scaling up a proven solution, youth apprenticeships. Indiana has established a coalition of stakeholders from philanthropic organizations, chambers, education, industry, and the public sector to design and implement youth apprenticeships across the state in order to prepare more high school students for in-demand careers making up today's workforce. Our goal is to scale apprenticeship programs statewide to ensure every student has access to high-quality education and training options by 2030. Indiana leaders began learning about Switzerland's dual vocational education and training, or VET system, in 2016 through a convening led by the bipartisan National Conference of State Legislators and funded by the Richard M. Fairbanks Foundation. Switzerland's system is considered the gold standard for educating youth or young people and meeting labor market demand, with about 70% of Swiss youth participating in 3 or 4 year paid apprenticeships spanning the entire labor market, totaling 180,000 people ages 16 to 19. Drawing from the best practices of VET system, in 2019, Indiana collaboratively developed a beginning implementing a youth apprenticeship system through the launch of a pilot program called Modern Youth Apprenticeship, the creation of a statewide community practice to remove barriers in implementing and scaling these programs. Indiana's youth apprenticeship programs begin in 11th grade and average 3 years, with students earning a high school diploma, college credit, and industry credentials upon completion. The three-year-round paid experience span many industries, including insurance, business services, life sciences, healthcare, and advanced manufacturing. Today, 5 pilot programs are operating and have placed more than 400 students with 50 employers, with 5 more pilot programs anticipated to launch by 2025. Finally, the statewide COP, or Community of Practice, engaged 125 members across 60 organizations to continue to discuss how to scale apprenticeships in Indiana. Through the youth apprenticeship pilot programs, Indiana leaders identified common implementation challenges. Businesses view youth apprenticeship as a corporate social responsibility and not as a pipeline development for recruitment, development, and retention. Youth apprenticeships are layered into an existing school coursework, making it difficult for students to have consistent, dedicated work hours at an employer's site. Communities lack reliable transportation for solutions in the workplace. High schools have limited career counseling capabilities, and there's also a lack of identified competencies through industry and other employers to ensure consistency in experiences, ultimately of the ability to scale. As Hoosiers, we always come together, collectively solve challenges, and map out the best practice for the future. This is just how we do things in Indiana. To scale youth apprenticeship programs statewide, Indiana is well on its way. We have collectively identified short-term priorities such as establishing a governing committee to oversee strategic planning, implementation, and sustainability, and operational structure that delineates the roles of private, public, and nonprofit partners. Another priority is to identify policies that hamper scaling youth apprenticeship and to address barriers. One significant step that was taken in 2023 by the Indiana General Assembly was that identified modern apprenticeship in requiring 2 semesters of academic instruction, 650 hours of work, a paid experience, post-secondary credits, and potential credential attainment. This enables consistency of programs and starts to ensure a bar of quality. It's important that all youth nationwide have access to apprentice programs. Indiana Coalition has significant progress to give youth equal access to careers and businesses, access to skilled talent. But to scale apprenticeship here in Indiana and nationwide, the coalition believes the youth apprenticeship needs additional systems, a framework and definition of the youth apprenticeship, employer-led models, and easy access for employers and students to find funding for wraparound services, including transportation. Thank you for the opportunity to share the journey of Indiana and its coalition, and I hope the experience and our progress provides you with information to find ways to make youth apprenticeship available to students and businesses across the nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roer. Ms. Tugade.
Thank you. Chair Hickenlooper, Ranking Member Braun, and members of the subcommittee. My name is Denise Tugade. I've recently served on the California Youth Apprenticeship Committee, as well as on the California Interagency Committee on Apprenticeship Health Subcommittee. I previously was a government relations advocate for SEIU United Healthcare Workers, although today I am speaking in my capacity as an individual with expertise in workforce and labor policy. The union apprenticeship model has long been an established, successful path for workers to gain skills on the job, allowing for workers to quickly integrate into the field, build connections in the industry, and allow apprentices to be paid while receiving their training, the critical earn and learn. Since 1948, youth unemployment rates have averaged around 2.7 times higher than the prime age unemployment rate. A Brookings memo estimated that the impact of just 6 months of unemployment at age 22 could reduce the individual's wages in the following year by 8% and reduce future earnings by about $22,000 over the following decade. Notably, this impact is not evenly distributed across all youth. The long-term economic losses, or scarring, were more severe for youth from historically marginalized communities, and particularly from youth not pursuing post-secondary education. This trend of a widening opportunity gap appears to be holding today. Given the dramatic and long-lasting impacts of youth unemployment, we must look to solutions that meet this unique population where they are. Senator Maria Elena Durazo of Los Angeles introduced Senate Bill 1351, the California Youth Apprenticeship Program, in 2022. As chair of Senate Budget Subcommittee 5, overseeing California's labor and workforce development budget items, she established the California Youth Apprenticeship Program to provide grants for existing shovel-ready programs and the development of new apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship programs. Critically, the bill defined its target population as youth who are at risk of disconnection or are disconnected from the education system or employment, unhoused in the child welfare, juvenile justice, or criminal legal systems, living in concentrated poverty, or are facing barriers to labor market participation. It was also inclusive of youth who are facing chronic opportunity educational achievement gaps, attend schools in communities of concentrated poverty, or attend high schools with a negative school climate. Importantly, the program will collect, analyze, and report data on race, gender, income, rurality, ability, foster youth, homeless youth, and English language learner, among other key characteristics, keeping programs accountable and giving us better insight into what is and is not working. Under the statute, the California Youth Apprenticeship Committee was charged with developing recommendations on the expansion and structure of youth apprenticeships, establishing definitions and guiding principles for the California Opportunity Youth Apprenticeship grant. The committee includes representatives from youth, youth-serving organizations, labor, employers of youth, K through 12 schools, community colleges, and the public workforce system. Having each of these pieces of the puzzle all together has been absolutely critical to getting the program moving. The first round of applications for funding opened in February, with projects estimated to start by July of this year. The committee has analyzed extensive surveys of youth apprenticeship models with the intention of presenting a report of findings in July. In August 2023, our governor, Gavin Newsom, issued an executive order to improve access to high-paying jobs and fulfilling careers, reduce barriers to employment in state jobs, and to launch a new master plan on career education. And the championship of his administration, as well as our agencies, has made all the difference in keeping momentum going forward. In the course of surveying models across the country, a theme which rose to the top was that youth are at a stage of exploring interests. Many youth do not know what they want to do as a career, or their ideas may change about what they want to do. The most promising models for youth apprenticeship allowed them to experience work-based learning while not pigeonholing them into a single profession or trade, by ensuring that youth completed their programs not only with transferable skills, but with portable and stackable credentials that could propel them forward along branching career pathways. In order for this model to work, youth apprenticeship requires, again, extensive coordination. The 2,000-hour minimum requirement typical for registered apprenticeships is challenging to complete on top of current high school graduation requirements, simply due to the limits on hours in the day, as we've said. Additionally, youth face unique barriers like consistency of transportation and the need for supplemental trainings on professionalism and being worksite or office ready. In closing, I will say the committee's consideration of the Youth Apprenticeship Advancement Act could take the following lessons from our successful implementation in California. Having all of the stakeholders, youth serving organizations, labor, employers of youth, K-12, community colleges and intermediaries at the table together, much like today, can help bring down red tape to get to creative solutions. Organized labor often is ready with the infrastructure to recruit from target populations and provide the critical wraparound services that can help apprentices complete a program. Working with labor ensures that we are not reinventing the wheel. Having the full voice support of both administration and legislative champions across geographies and across policy sectors has made it possible to jump over hurdles when they have come in the way. And finally, this is a model that can be thoughtfully tailored to serve a group which our institutions have long failed. The lives of these, this is an incredible opportunity to change the lives of these youth and their families and to transform entire communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tugade. Terrific. Again, I appreciate you all making the time and the effort to be here. Let me start, Mr. Day, with you. The Cherry Creek Innovation Campus has taken a full-scale approach to youth apprenticeships since 2019. How is this full embrace of youth apprenticeship as a model co-hosted within the school benefited both your school and the surrounding community?
Thank you, Senator. That benefit has come in multiple different formats. I can say in terms of employment, we have, you use the figure of $5,000 as cited in terms of cost for replacing an employee. We've heard from our construction partners in the construction trades specific to our area that we have a savings of $15,000 in terms of employee training when they exit our programs and move into their career with these employees, these employee partners. And we have benefited by that in multiple different ways in terms of strengthening that partnership by providing these employees. We have the training of professional skills that we do at the CCIC, which also then benefits not only our students, obviously, but also the employer in terms of the strength of their employee. And then those partnerships show up in multiple different forms of support for our campus. And I would say one way to kind of tackle the structure of some of these challenges is we have students who will enroll with us for 3 full years, 2 full years of instruction in the classroom, and then we use their 3rd year with us, their senior year, as the beginning of their apprenticeship, specifically in the construction trades is just one example.
Oops, thank you very much. Ms. Tugade, one of the main reasons we're so passionate about this model of advancing youth apprenticeship is the way that it'll help bring apprenticeship opportunities to a whole new generation of Americans. Unions have a strong history of advancing apprenticeship and continue to be strong partners as we work towards to support youth apprenticeships. But the fact is that most advancing youth apprenticeship is going to require diverse stakeholder support across the board. So given your background, can you discuss a little bit about how we make sure to include unions in youth apprenticeship partnerships, ultimately how that strengthens the program?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, I think bringing everyone to the table just like today is so important, regardless of, we may not always agree on every single issue, but on making sure that we're getting our youth into the workforce, I think this is something we can all agree on. The how, of course, is the tricky part. We've found that in California, one of the best ways to go about it is to really look at where the need is. My previous employer was in the healthcare field, and so, of course, there's always a need. We are in a severe shortage. In California, we were looking at 500,000 short for allied healthcare workers. And a lot of those are really good paying jobs that do not require a college education, may not even require a high school education. You just need a certificate. And so how do we get folks into those jobs? And so really meeting with employers, and then again, kind of getting to that point of how do we get to where we are both interested parties.
Oh, great. Exactly the point. Mr. Patch, Vestas has been a employer partner for now, 6 years, going on 6 years, and obviously clearly ramping this up. How would legislation like the Youth Apprenticeship Advancement Act help existing programs like yours to kind of grow and to serve more apprentices?
Yeah, it would help with really the overhead cost of trainers and mentors. It would help with the training materials. It'd help with recruiting. It'd help with the intermediary consultants helping us get students into our program. It would help schools themselves be able to recruit students in their school districts. It would also help us with understanding of projecting out to the public with advertising, marketing, and assisting so that people are aware of it, right? I mean, people understand apprenticeship programs, but they're not really aware of what really an apprenticeship program does. So if this is passed, then it lets the whole world know that we're really serious here and we're going to go after the apprenticeships.
Certainly, that's part of the goal here, is to make sure that when Americans hear the word apprenticeship, they think, wow, opportunity, rather than, well, maybe I should be going to college. I mean, apprenticeships are their own choice, and you're right, you're exactly right. We're changing the way people will hear just the word. They've called a vote, so I'm going to turn the chair over to Senator Braun, my co-chair of this thing, and let him take it from here and recognize Senator Kane. I'll be back briefly.
And before you leave, I'd like to submit for the record 6 letters from Ascend Indiana and others in Indiana that have highlighted what we're doing there for apprenticeships, and I'd like to get that into the record.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got several questions, Mr. Roer, and I got another set of them. We'll try to get it in, and then Senator Kane will be up. I know what it means in Indiana in terms of that idea of aspiring to go to college. I remember, too, that there were cases where I think we were pushing kids only into that direction at the expense of pre-COVID. I think we had 65,000 jobs in Indiana that need apprenticeships, some form of better education in high school towards basic skills. How have you seen in the past few years, are we getting elementary education involved at all in the middle school and especially in high school to where these options are there for our parents and kids to look at? Has the dynamic changed?
Thank you for that question, Senator Brown. The dynamic has continued to change. It's pivoting with each region as we continue to expand the opportunities for youth in Indiana. We're really making a concerted effort by changing legislation, grad pathways. I think you're very familiar with the fact that now Indiana requires each graduating high school senior to have a work-based learning experience before graduation. That took place in effective of 2023 in that cohort. That really, to me, underscores how serious we are taking those skills. And I think that is also the leading that through education is the importance of that, and how we continue to identify those opportunities for those students and show those skills that are needed. We talk a lot about, people showing up on time and people really becoming team players, and a lot of that comes from experience. And Indiana, I think, is really taking that seriously with our educators and our parents.
That's good. And then what about on the industry end? I think they've always wanted our school systems to kind of produce that perfect mix of future employees, and I think they probably have become more engaged as well. Are you seeing that?
Absolutely. Industry is definitely coming to the table through partnerships with CICP and Ascend Indiana and others, and to the state. They're coming to regions and really trying to show how they're leaning into education. A lot of everything we've talked about today underscores the importance of this being an employer-led initiative. Youth apprenticeships only as strong as the employers developing the competencies and curriculums. So I think employers are really taking this to heart and looking at this as a viable pipeline for Indiana.
And then what about, because ours is really a rural state, we probably got 50, 55 counties that have got agriculture and manufacturing a part of it. Are we seeing this in the rural communities and counties as well?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things that we're talking through, and how to scale, because you have transportation issues, you have career counseling issues, but 62 of our 92 counties are nearly 20% manufacturing intensity. So we have to get rural to get this scaled at the proper, and we have more and more regions. As I alluded to earlier, we have 5 more partnerships that are growing by 2025, with more in the pipeline for development. So it is scaling.
And then the difference between an industry-recognized apprenticeship and registered apprenticeships, is that starting to diminish, or is there still a distinction made that would be relevant to employers?
Yeah, it's starting to diminish. I mean, they're both equally important. As mentioned earlier, in California, a statement about unions are incredibly important and still prominent in Indiana, but there's also several non-union, so those industry-recognized credentials, automotive space, particularly for me and others, it's incredibly important, and they have to work together, and they will, and they continue to in Indiana.
Very good. I want to start with Mr. Day, Mr. Patch, and then Ms. Tugade on that issue of stigmatizing pathways through career and technical education versus 2-year or 4-year pathways. Give me your take on that, and then we'll move down the line.
That is definitely the heavy lift right there, sir. We've had so many years, decades in fact, of pushing all students, as you mentioned earlier, toward college. And we are now destigmatizing the work of career preparation. And I think we've done that in a number of different ways. Some is reimagining how a career center like the CCIC can appear to students. We do a fair amount of our work is marketing the opportunities we have for our students. Like, we bring every 8th grader through, in our entire district, we bring them all through our campus, so they get to see what we have available to us. And we have students who are currently in our program speak on the behalf of the program, which is a fantastic way, again, to remove that stigma in terms of where those students can see themselves in a career and how they get there very drastically differently from the college-only path. That has made a tremendous difference for us.
Thank you. And Mr. Patch might comment on the pay differences, if there are any, and whether you can get into a career with nearly the same amount of pay and no debt from further education.
By coming into industry, is that?
Yes.
Yes, for sure. Our career paths that we give in our industry itself, between leadership, engineering, quality, you can get into making a good wage, learn where you want to go, and then we'll pay for your school.
Thank you. Ms. Tugade.
In response to the
Just in your view, in terms of four-year degree versus apprenticeship, CTE, and getting directly into the workforce.
Absolutely. One of the most successful programs we've had at SEIU United Healthcare Workers has been our Futuro Health recruitment program. And so that was primarily focused at recruiting the family and friends of our incumbent workers. And so they were people who already knew they already knew what the healthcare field looked like. They already knew the difficulties, but they also knew what it could do for them. They knew how life-changing that work could be. And so, that was actually one of the best programs that we've had, and has been actually so successful that we've run out of spots so far. And so really, again, relying on those networks that are already built.
Thank you. Senator Kane.
Thanks to the witnesses. We both need to vote, and so I'm going to go quick because there's a vote on. Senator Pell Quality Creation, the Jobs Act, which we need to pass. I'm really interested in this, and I'm excited to see a real renaissance in career and technical education in our K-12 systems all across the country, innovative programs. This is great. Here's a group of youngsters I'm worried about. There's about 4.5 million people in this country between 16 and 24 who are disconnected from both school and work. So programs that are smart programs within school systems are great, and we need them. But we also have a group of kids who want to have work experiences or need to, who are not working and they're not at school. Could any of you share strategies that you've used to try to reach out to them? I have a bill that I'm introducing this week called the Opening Doors for Youth Act with Congressman Scott on the House side, and it's to focus on this group of what we call opportunity youth, but strategies that you all are using to deal with these kids, I'd love to hear. Yes, Mr. Day, can we start with you?
Of course, Senator. Yeah, thank you for the question. So we use a number of different strategies. One is, again, bringing all of our 8th graders through, and I can give you the quick anecdote of we have 8 home high schools that we serve, and we take students from as part of coming to our campus for the programs that they have there. And we will sometimes get those calls from the home high school and say, look, we can see on the attendance record, they're showing up for you. You need to tell them to come to math class, right? And so the engagement of CTE, that career technical education class, can be so high that it can be the lifeline that you're talking about. It's getting them into the classroom. So it's that marketing to them, it's reaching out and making sure they're aware of the opportunities. We provide a number of different summer opportunities for our most at-risk youth. We do a lot of grant writing to be able to bring those folks in so that we can have the teachers and obviously the students present on campus so they get those experiences. And you're exactly right, it can be transformational. So one of the things we've done very early in my tenure at CCIC is remove all barriers for admissions. So there's no minimum GPA, there's no teacher letter of recommendation. All those things are out the door, so we don't have to, we welcome and include all students who are interested. That makes a big difference.
One of the things you said, and I think Senator Braun said it earlier too, you start earlier, start before a youngster becomes disconnected from school. If you can start late in elementary or in middle school and show people paths that they might not be aware of, that can actually spark their interest in keeping them connected and having them stay. How about others dealing? Mr. Roer, I see you ready to punch the button.
Yeah, very interested to talk about this. We really have spent some time marketing, as mentioned before, the opportunities specifically in advanced manufacturing and logistics in Indiana trying to reach that younger group and make them understand that they do have opportunities coming out of high school. We also really pared down our career and technical education and aligned it with post-secondary. Ivy Tech, we're fortunate enough that we have one community college in the state of Indiana, and that community college is in lockstep with career and technical education. So we're really showing that students can go through those pathways. They're meaningful, they have credentialing to those, and then they lead to those good and promising jobs. So much so we actually took career and technical education this last year, and it's now it's housed underneath the Commission of Higher Education.
Fantastic. I want to ask a slightly separate question, but on the same topic to Mr. Patch and Ms. Tugade. You said I think Ms. Tugade, you were looking at programs, and you said one of the challenges is if corporations just see this as a social responsibility thing rather than they need it as a pipeline for employees, they may be less willing to do it. And Mr. Patch, you described the program as you realize you're going to have a need to hire these technicians, so you kind of created a program. So you're both looking at it not just as a good thing to do, but it's something that's necessary to help businesses thrive and students and young people have access to employment. Talk a little bit about that trying to convince companies not this is just a good thing to do, but it's really going to be in their interests to creatively engage with programs like this.
Yes, for sure, and thank you for the question. That's what we recognized back in 17. We were bringing in a new process. We were doing a production ramp, and we knew that there was going to be a limited supply of hireable workers, right? And so going into the high schools, we knew that there was a percentage of them. I don't know what the percentage is at this time, but there's a percentage that had a choice, right? You go into the career, you go into the military, or you go to school, right? And as colleges are getting more and more expensive, we just had to show them the pathway to the career. And that's what we did with District 6. They had an innovation of career and college ready, so we went with the career side of it, and we started touching young at grade 3 through grade 5. And not only the kids did we touched the parents as well. So that way the parents knew what was out there for them. Because the more we get the parents involved, the more that they would push their kids towards a more career at that point. And having it as our industry with advanced manufacturing, we could show them a pathway inside of our work, so they just wouldn't get in and be stale and work for 5-6 years as a worker. They could actually grow and eventually take college if they'd like to.
So we're waiting on Chairman Hickenlooper to come back, so I'll let any one of you from the discussion that we've had, what would you like to add to it that we've missed? Mr. Day, we'll start with you.
I would speak to an opportunity that we are proud of. One thing we implemented at the Cherry Creek Innovation Campus for a population that's not been discussed yet, but I think is just as important to include. We are part of a national program called the Uniquely Abled Academy, and we implemented the first program of such in the state of Colorado. And it serves specifically a unique population of adults with level 1 autism that have a set of characteristics and traits and abilities that are specific to they excel at high precision jobs, which makes them a great employer in a high precision manufacturing site. So we offer a training program, in the evenings and in the summer for these young adults, and they can earn their NIMS certification, their National Metalworking certification as a machinist. And we're proud to say we have taken 2 cohorts been underemployed. We think that's an exciting aspect of what we're talking about here. It's a small group of folks, but it's just as important as all the others.
Yes, for me, I attend many roundtable meetings in Northern Colorado with other advanced manufacturing businesses, and there's truly tentative to start apprenticeship programs due to the cost and the effort of just putting together, because the cost is real. So I feel if this Youth Apprenticeship Advancement Act is passed, that'll push some more advanced manufacturing or employers to take that risk and say, hey, yeah, we're going to do this because now it'll help us fund this project or program.
Mr. Roer.
You know, I say Indiana is not alone in this. We have roughly 25,000 kids coming out of high school every year that don't have a plan. They're not enrolled, enlisted, or employed in Indiana. Youth apprenticeship gives them opportunity to get some guidance and some direction that is very well needed for those youth, that 16 to 24-year-old that is unemployed right now. Then you also look at the employers, the cost of having vacant jobs in Indiana. We did a study 2 years ago that demonstrated if we had 85,000 open manufacturing jobs in Indiana, it would cost our economy about $6.7 billion. We need to understand how to fulfill that, and this pipeline development that we're doing right now, including youth apprenticeship, is exactly how we do that. Thank you.
Ms. Tugade.
Thank you. I think most critically, these programs need to be youth-centered. In California, we've actually broken out these programs into out-of-school youth and in-school youth in recognition of this need to particularly serve those disconnected youth. And those out-of-school youth are getting additional wraparound services, counselors, transportation, all sorts of additional wraparound services. And to the point of the other panelists, that is expensive. But we have to look at this as an investment because the cost of the vacancies in these high-need industries is much higher, especially as we go forward. And so how do we make this easier? How do we create clarity with our business partners and with our school partners through minimum industry training criteria, through competency templates to make sure that we're able to scale easily? So with that, I'll pass it back to
Thank you.
Chair.
And I'm going to forego my closing statement. And I'd like to ask Brad if you want to take a trip by my office on your way out. And love to talk to you a little further about what's happening in Indiana. So if that works, I'll see you in a bit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Braun. Appreciate you filling in and covering. As I said in the beginning, thank all of you for making the trek out here, spending the time with us. I think we'll see additional questions come in for you that hopefully you can get a chance to look at and guess the answers. The rule of thumb, if any senators do want to ask additional questions, for the record, they will be due by 5 o'clock. With 10 business days from today, that's March 26th. So we'll make sure that that gets circulated. Mr. Day, Mr. Patch, Mr. Roer, Ms. Tugade, thank you. Again, this is very instructive, and I think as we begin to work forward on trying to find what are the legitimate compromises to the obstacles we have to passing this bill, it's going to take perspectives from all different points of view and all different points of the political compass. And you guys represent that to a large extent. So hopefully we can get this ball moving to the point where we do function closer to the Swedish or the Swiss model of apprenticeships, where it's accepted that this is a viable, valuable opportunity for any one of our youth if they are so inclined. It's what attracts them. And we got a lot of work to do, but I appreciate all the work you've already done. It's my grandfather, when we were kids, and he'd get us to go out pick up crab apples that he used to make into this basically apple brandy in his basement. But at the end of a whole day, we'd have all these bags of apples. He'd say, "Look how much we've got done," and then he'd point to these trees and say, "Look how much we still have to do." That's what I say to each of you. Thank you for all that you've done. Look how much we still have to do. Committee now stands adjourned.